Grandma threw me a curve. She got up at 8:40 this morning. Every day since she's been here, I've had to wake her up at 9:15 for her pills, and that
Right.
works out fine. Give her her pills, and then I start the morning.
Then she
She
rolls
threw
back
me a
to bed.
curve. No, she didn't go back to bed. She was up, and I'm like, well, Mom, and that's fine. I didn't want to say anything, but so now I can't work out. It's a shower day, so I can't shower till I shower her. At the same time, Dad's like, keep your phone handy because I might call you from the car place because we bought that car. So all of a sudden, I'm like, zoom, 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 and all the stuff I usually done in the morning gets shoved to later. So I'm fine now, but at the time she wasn't understanding. I'm like, Mom, you're not helping me getting up early. She thinks she's helping me. Like I prefer if you don't need to get up, stay in bed. She acts like she's doing me a favor. I'm like, yeah, do me a favor, Lolly. So anyhow,
I like the when you're younger, you go from having a bedtime. When you're older, there's a certain time you have to wake up and don't wake up beforehand.
yeah. Well, I don't mind. Like your dad said to me, why don't you just let her sleep in the morning? Because I have to wake her up for her pills, except for today. I said, well, there's a couple reasons why. First of all, I don't want her getting up later because then she stays up later, right? Now the whole day's messed up.
Right.
Number two, it doesn't work for my schedule, but on top of it, if I don't give her her pills at 9:15, then she's getting them later at night, which means she's drinking water later, which means dot, 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 dot,
Right,
she's peeing in the night. So I said, I can live with early if I just can manage the time. But if she throws off my schedule, like I have every minute's accounted for in the morning now, and it's been working nicely. Get my workout in, I'm done. Get her up, make her breakfast, walk the dog, come back, get her dressed. But she threw me that curve on a day when Dad's like, okay, we're gonna do. Normally, Dad's around, so I had to walk the dog too. I'm like, wow, this is like too much today.
How are we liking the new car?
So far, so good. I like it. As I told you, we didn't need such a bigger car, but then again, the alternatives weren't
Comparable.
gonna work either.
Right.
Yeah. And this way, I told Dad, with moving and everything, if that's going to happen, which I hope it does, we're still going to need one more big car. After that, this might be my last.
Looks a little SUV. Yeah, it looks a little too SUV-ish to me. I don't know if I like it.
Oh, it's totally SUV. It's a little bit, but it's very nice inside. It's all, the last car was nice for its day, but that car was a 2010. Yeah. It's 14 years old. So now we have, all the state-of-the-art stuff. So much so, Chris, that it's going to take me a while to sit down. I had to bring the books in. I took Grandma for a ride in it. But setting the seat, the key, the key is wrapped in leather, because now it's Lexus. It's not even Toyota, which is nice. The seats are they're very nice. They're maybe not as plush as the older Toyota. But, Dad hemmed and hawed about the he wanted captain chairs in the second seat. I didn't mind. I said, but Bo's the one who's going to be in the second seat the most. And captain chair doesn't help him.
Because we're not there that much.
So he said, we'll put him in the way back. That's too far back. He's not going to want to sit there. So even something so simple as figuring out how to lower the second row seats, I couldn't do that. So I got to get the book out. I got to figure that one out.
Oh, so everything will go down in that car.
Yes. Well, the second seats always went down, but everything's automated now.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Somewhere there's a button to push. I did it with the handle, like the old-fashioned way. So, there's a lot of little gadgets that I have to set up.
Is that the kind of car that so like with the old Toyota, the seats would go to the sides, like up and to the sides, and you kind of lose room because of the width?
It goes flat down.
Flat down. Into the floor? Does it do that?
It doesn't go all the way into the floor. It has a little bit of a pitch to it. But I have to look at that because when you push the button, the headrest that we used to manually put down before we put the seat down, as it goes down, it flips down on its own.
Oh.
And it keeps going.
Okay.
So I have to figure that one out. I thought it went completely flat at the dealership, but that could have been just in my mind when we looked at one like a week or two ago. So, hey, listen, it's a car that's very nice that runs now, which is good. I was limited with the truck.
Yeah, that truck was, for our viewers, that truck was kind of, how many miles do we have on that thing?
237.
237,000 miles, and it couldn't really do long trips anymore. It could, but you're kind of playing Russian roulette. So you might be stuck wherever you end up. So that's why I was like, it's better for short drives. But the problem is that thing was such a gas guzzler, the Toyota Land Cruiser, that it didn't really make sense to use short distance, and it was too dangerous to use long distance. So it was about
But I'll
time.
tell you, this is a weirdo I am. Last night when Dad said, let's clean it out because I might be leaving it if I trade it in,
Right.
I had to go out there before we went to bed late at night. And I had to relive all the extractions and all the trips back and forth to college and Lake George and the
Right.
holidays. I had to relive all that with the car. I did that with the last one. And I get a little emotional. I gotta tell you, I get a little emotional
Yeah.
because, a lot of memories in that car and the one before it too. You have them so long because they're such good cars that it was nice to get a new car. It's nice to be able to move forward and all that, but it's a rite of passage as a parent,
Oh yeah.
especially if I downgraded. Like I don't think I emotionally could downgrade at this point.
Yeah. True. Going can.
I
Yeah.
wasn't ready, but I'm getting ready. Put it that way. When I was turning in with grandma, we were pulling in our driveway. To our listeners, we have a Dad has the stones out in front, like trim the driveway. I was turning it like it was a freaking bus because
It's
not that
longer.
much bigger than a Land Cruiser.
Yeah.
But not that much.
I was surprised. The Land Cruiser. I mean, the Land Cruiser was probably wider, not longer, but fitting that thing in the garage, I was like, "Is that 8 inches more? So is that gonna fit? That's gotta be like right up against the garage door."
No, we measured it. Dad made sure. Remember, we got more room in the front too because we have stuff against the wall. If we had nothing in the garage, which eventually that might be the case, we could go even further in and still have plenty of room to walk around. But yeah, no, that was the first thing we said when we noticed that it was longer. I'm not taking it upstate next week because they have to put the running boards in, which is important for me and Grandma. And Dad doesn't want the first trip to be bug filled.
Yeah, really.
Like, okay.
Did you trade in the Toyota today, or do we still have the Toyota as well? Okay, gotcha.
No, we traded it in, and it's a hot market right now because of the tariffs. The used cars are the hot market. So that's why I did my emotional goodbye last night, and we were pulling out all the old gadgets. You saw the picture of the headsets.
Yeah, I was like, how's that? I didn't even know that thing had headsets. I don't even know where those were.
Oh, you don't remember every trip when we put the movie on, we'd fight over the headsets, and we always had one more that had to be plugged in.
No, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, and the movie would come down at the top, and then you guys would watch the movie, whatever was playing, and put the headsets on, and they were wireless, which was nice, ahead of its time back then.
You say it like we were little kids when.
You were.
Oh wait, so you're not talking about the the Toyota, the Land Cruiser?
That's true. You guys were in high school age.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say we were watching movies in high school in the back of that car. Well, maybe Michael was, but
Michael was, and I feel like Kenny used to. Maybe not so much you, but
makes sense.
I mean, when you guys rigged to be able to play video games.
Yeah, because it had the comp, it had the red, white, and yellow cords, the ports.
Yeah.
But it didn't have one of the audio things, so you'd have to play, but there was no audio because it was not designed for that, but it would work.
Right.
So
we stopped using the movie thing, the overhead movie projector, or whatever the thing was called. But yeah,
right. Well,
which never worked. I mean, it worked, but it was always like, how do we set it up and keep the radio going? Similar to Grandma's headset now. We were doing that back then.
Right.
We had to figure out how can we put a movie on for the kids and we can still use the radio in front because Dad didn't want to sit and drive in silence. So yeah, we had to write it out on a card because there's a whole big. You push this button and that, and then you put the movie.
Yeah, that I remember. Well, I was just saying, just to start getting to the news articles. I'm still amazed when I was driving Aunt Sue and Uncle Jerry how excited Grandma was to have a new Pope, Pope Leo.
Oh yes.
Our first guys. This actually, listen, whether you're a Catholic or not, right? It's pretty awesome that we're having our first American Pope.
Yep.
Ever. That's huge. Oh, I hate this.
What's that? Axios Hill Leaders?
Yeah, that's the freaking.
Oh, their cover.
Yeah, 1 second.
Yes, he's Robert Cardinal Prevost. He's from Chicago.
Prevost.
He became a priest in 1982. He started as a missionary in Peru, and I think he spent more time in Peru than he has in America, to be honest. He was recently made the prefect of the Dicastery of Bishops. I meant to look that up. I'm not sure what that is. I think it's some sort of like managerial role for the bishops of the Vatican. He's also president of the Pontifical Mission for Latin America. He speaks 5 languages, which I thought was interesting. They listed all his languages, but they didn't put Latin. So I'm going to say he knows Latin, making it 6.
Right.
He went to Villanova University where he studied math, and then on he became an Augustinian friar. He's landed in Rome. He went to St. Thomas Aquinas, where he got his doctorate degree. And, everyone tries to figure out what direction the new pope's going to go in, and they try to read into things. So, as I told you, he chose the name Leo, which is a pre-Vatican pope, pre-Vatican II pope name.
That's what I picked.
I didn't hear you. What
I said that's what I picked. That was my confirmation name.
That's an older name, and people wonder, does that symbolize he's going to go back or to reform the church and go back somewhat to the old teachings? Vatican II is a sensitive issue for a lot of older Catholics.
Right.
A lot of people think the church just went off a cliff with that, and that was back in the 60s. I think.
Can you explain to everyone, because I wasn't alive back then, what was the big deal with Vatican II? That was when the Latin masses stopped, right?
Well, they were no longer the primary mass. There was a lot of changes where you could still have a Latin mass, but that does not meet your weekly requirement. They started to move the altars out into some of the churches.
Right. Back used to be to the priest's back used to be turned to you, right?
Yeah, I think that was more pre-Vatican I, though.
Oh,
Vatican
okay.
II, well, maybe, but for the most part, and a lot of the other rules started to get relaxed, meaning like after Vatican II, gradually the nuns stopped wearing the full habits. They started to dress over the next 10, 20 years. They would dress in regular clothes, but they would have like a religious thing on them. Priests were becoming, because priests used to walk around in robes, like black, I forget what they call it, cassocks. So it was a black skirted long gown thing, if you will. They didn't wear the black suits like they wear today. And that became more relaxed. But things like divorce in the church, they started to relax some of the rules. They started to issue more annulments. So they started to change with the quote unquote times. And as our own pastor, who's fairly young, I think he's in his 40s, had said many years ago, people keep saying, relax the rules and more will come, relax the rules, but more aren't coming. So a lot of the people from Vatican II were not crazy about these changes, said if you change it too much, the church is going to lose. Yeah. Right, it's going to lose its way. And now we're at the point where we're debating within the church, can you be a Catholic who's pro-abortion? Well, of course not.
Right.
Can you be a Catholic who believes in LGBTQ and same-sex marriages and have a ceremony? And even the previous pope did not agree to that. However, he said we can bless the individuals in the union.
Right.
Okay, well, for people in that area, they look at it like, okay, now we're relaxing it. That's a slippery slope onto. They're going to claim that, it's sanctioned by the church.
I thought it was interesting to see, because as you were talking about, I guess the question that I think a lot of people are going to ask or are asking is, what kind of pope is this guy? Are we going to see another Pope Francis, or are we going to see this conservative pope from America? And it doesn't sound like he's very conservative, but he's definitely not liberal. He definitely leans certain ways. Like I've seen a lot of mixed things on him. Like some of the LGBTQ loves him, some don't.
Right.
I don't know. It's very strange. But what I did think was interesting is in his speech, acceptance speech, I guess you would call it. I'm sure it has some religious term.
Yeah.
But he said something about how AI is a threat to the church. And I was like, that's kind of weird to say as a pope. How AI, artificial intelligence, is a threat to the Catholic Church.
Yeah, I don't know what he said. I'll take your word for it because I didn't hear his speech. AI is a threat to the church in the sense that for those who really have done the research into where they're going with AI, ultimately, I mean, obviously, everyone's talking about, how great it is for gaming, for this, for that, and for coding, like you said, right?
Right.
But he and like others see it as a threat because the ultimate goal is we don't need humans. That's where this whole AI, that's like the silent undertow of eventually we'll get rid of humans, or we'll have a half human, half humanoid, because put a chip in my brain, I can think, I don't need a handphone. Like they're trying to mesh ultimately that. and it's always a concern.
Because they're trying to, because the AIs are doing it based on science and numbers, where the Catholic Church is basing a lot of their stuff on literature and faith, which AI can't
I
prove.
disagree with you in that, like I said, you're looking at it from a science and math perspective, and that's fine. There is that whole school of thought.
Well, I would think that's just what AI. I just mean that's all AI is capable of. Like AI is not going to have
those
faith.
individuals, no, because the individuals that want to control AI, and that's the handful of people in the EU type people, when you read what they talk about, and they're not very open about it, they don't hide it. These are the elites, if you will, in the AI world. I'm not going to tell you it's the developers. It's not like the Elon Musk people. It's more the people who know the power of it and want this to go in this direction. Their underlying writings, and they, like I said, they don't hide it, is we won't need humans in the future. They don't have a place. Like, we'll just be a few of us. Again, that elite mentality of they're just, and they say this like they're God. And, there's an individual that I've listened to, Joe Allen, who has done the research, not just recently since AI has exploded, like the last 5 years. He's been reading these people for the last 10 years. And it is scary when you hear what these individuals think is going to happen. And they're not necessarily wrong, because there's only one direction we're going in. And, if you want to parlay into another, I put that clip in of the robot in China.
Yeah, hold on one second.
Going nuts. I know it's a silly thing, but then they had another one that they had at a crowd. I didn't post that one. That started leaning into the crowd and started hitting
that's artificial. That's not a real video. That's a different video. Yeah.
Okay.
But this one is real.
Yeah, I just see it being kind of, again, it's going to happen. It's just a robot, but it always harkens back to, example of, we think we can control something. They're trying to control something and develop it to the point where it will control you. And something's wrong with that mentality. Having said that, that's how the church views it. You can't replace human beings. That goes against what the church stands for. You can enhance life. You can include the AI too, like you say, coding and medical research and whatnot. But the ones who are really behind AI, who have been pushing it for decades now, that's not their final goal. Right. They wanted to advance it to the point where there will be no more humans.
My only problem with this video isn't so much, like, to me, this doesn't really have anything to do with AI. This is just regular coding of a robot. This feels more like when you put a car, when you think you put your car in park, but you actually leave it in drive. Because this to me is just a tech robot that just went out of control because they typed something in wrong, right? It's not like the AI is making the decisions.
Right. It was just, I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's kind of silly. But it's an example of, we are developing technology to the point where we want it better than humans are. That's the underlying goal, the ultimate goal, after they get through the medical and the, all the good things that you see it doing, and that the church can say, okay, I get it. But similar to what Musk says, you can't just let this go unbridled. It's because the ones who really ultimately want to fund it and create it, and as you said, it's going to be a war. Who gets the highest one?
Who gets it first?
That's the one who's going to decide it. And the individuals backing it, or who have been talking about this, scary folks, that's their goal. We don't need humans anymore. We just need a handful of human beings. Why feed people, right? Why have we don't need to make babies anymore. We'll just make robots. That's the mentality.
But you know what we're using it for? Still cheating on essays in college. Now, this kid is pretty amazing. Hold on one second. Disable JavaScript. No one's going to pay for to read a news article. I don't know how the companies still have not caught on to that. Every time, listen, Wall Street Journal, I'm going to help you here. Every time I click on an article and it says, please pay, I'm telling you, I'm not going to pay. Anyway. So, hi, Chad. So, this article is about this guy was basically meeting a guy named Roy Lee, right?
Yeah.
Chunging is his real name. Roy Lee is what they call him. He was a kid that basically got into Columbia he got into Harvard, then got kicked out because he got his acceptance letter revoked because of something that he did his senior year of high school. Then he's like, okay, cool. So I'm just going to cheat to get into Columbia. Does an essay through ChatGPT where 80% of it was just 80% of it was written for him, sends it
AI
in.
generated.
Yeah, AI
generated.
generated,
Yeah.
right? So the guy who actually did the little opt on him goes, first off, the kid's obviously a genius. We're not talking about him using ChatGPT. He made his own and then started making apps and creating things with his now wife,
Right.
like stuff like that, which is really cool. But then the guy goes, let me see how bad the cheating is with ChatGPT in this school of Columbia, right? And
Yeah.
he goes around, he's like, man, it's 90% of the
Yeah.
students, right? Then he goes, let me go see what it is at other colleges. And he goes to each other college. I don't know how many, they didn't say how many he actually did, but he said on average, it's 90%. So, what is a college degree now? Because every time, right, back when Mike was in school, so like 2 years ago, they would have AI robots that would detect if it was using ChatGPT. So that's how kids would fail. But every time one of those comes out, a new one comes out to bypass that. So
Right.
These college degree, not that, I mean, you know my opinion on college degrees. I think 90% of them are useless anyway. Like, it's not anything you can't learn. Unless it's medical or like anything PhD or MD. I mean, yeah, you're not learning much more than what you could get off YouTube or in a textbook. But the importance of what that degree means is almost gone, I would argue, at this point.
Yeah, well, we could segue into that other thing. The kids getting offered $70,000 right out of high school for tech jobs, but the one thing to keep in mind too is what we've also uncovered since the age of COVID is how many of these presidents. Remember the woman president of Harvard plagiarized her whole PhD,
thing,
her dissertation. This is becoming a chronic issue. Okay, so to say, and to me, ChatGPT is almost like plagiarism. In my day, it was plagiarism. In honor code, you don't do that. Nowadays, what I can see in academia, ChatGPT has become another resource for people to get through school.
Yeah.
Okay, you can call it cheating. That's fine.
It seems more like the
I don't know.
student. It's almost like having someone do your classes for you. That's what it feels like to me.
Right, and that harkens back to how rigorous are these educations with these professors that you're paying a fortune for, where I can throw together a paper with ChatGPT and I get a grade on that. Do they even care? Do they notice? Are they that great that they can't pick up the nuance? And if every kid's doing it, I guess AI can generate multiple reports on the same topic and they all look different. I don't know, but it's taking the place of, as this is going to sound silly because, for most people, and I'm dumbing it down, but it's basically it. All college is you read the material, you study the material, you take notes on it, and you spit it back on a test or in a paper.
Right.
That's universal education. That's how you grow your mind. And the topics is what should expand you, and what the teacher adds should expand your mind. Doesn't mean you agree, but critical thinking, blah, blah, blah. Now we have another resource. So in my day, read this book and write a paper. Well, I'll just open up the encyclopedia, I'll get the short version, and I'll write a quick paper, right? You could do that, but you're not going to put a lot of information in, and teachers could see that. Right. You're not going to hit the full, what was it, the metrics, the sheets for it. So nowadays, I'm wondering, I don't think it's just a problem with the students using it and AI. I just scratch my head on some of these professors that are letting it go. Either they don't know any better, or they're coming out of these institutions educated through these AI also. And, are these kids getting any smarter? I guess ultimately that's the question. I don't think they're necessarily, from what I've seen in the younger generation, they're smart enough to use it.
Yeah.
So I give them credit for using the resource, but ultimately I'm like, why are you in this game then? If you're just trying to.
And why'd you spend $80,000 on college?
Right. Well, why are you bothering? Because they still say that piece of paper is important. I get it. You can't get a job without the piece of paper. Right. And the better the piece of paper, the better the job in theory. But, at some point, employers who hire these young people out of college, if they're not seeing an improvement in their critical thinking and their abilities, I don't know, is it worth paying the top dollar for somebody from some of these better schools if they're not even getting the education? But that trickles down to all the schools too.
Right. I think you'd have, in order to stop ChatGPT and really see who's learning things, you have to give in-person paper tests again. You can't do online tests. That's what sucks.
Well,
And essays.
you know what helped? What helped AI a lot in college was COVID,
Yeah, absolutely.
because everyone was taking their tests online. Everybody was not in the classroom. Teachers were just handing out generated tests that they've used before, blah blah blah, and they're somewhat lazy. Some of them, they don't want to update the information, and basically, like I said, here's the information. Here's my take on it. Here are my notes. Do what you want with it. You're paying for access to that teacher in that university and what they teach every semester. I get it. It is somewhat boilerplate. But if you're going to do things like A, B, C, D, E, multiple choice, or write a quick essay, you're right. The only way you're going to know is if that kid's sitting in the chair in front of you with no electronics whatsoever. What did their brain retain?
Right. Like, I think even journalistic jobs, anything writing is going to be just AI based. Right? It's like opinion ops. You write your opinion and it writes the actual article out for you. And you're just like, yeah, that's probably about what I would have felt.
Well, the other thing I say is journalism is a little bit different. Journalism is in the moment. So AI may be able to talk about a fire that was in Chicago 2 years ago. But if it's happening right now as a journalist, I got to go there. I got to say, all right, here's the fire. It happened today. This is who, what, where, when, why, how.
True.
That's a different type of writing. And normally journalism in that sense, it's not, or news reporting, I should say.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That seems more like news reporting than actual journaling. Like, I'm talking about opinion pieces. Like, opinion pieces, let me throw in like, I don't like Trump, and it's going to tell me why. Right? That's your thing that you put in. So, I don't know.
Let me just say this, just as an aside. So I picked up the New York Times for your grandmother because she loves to do the puzzle. Okay. I don't usually buy the Times. I haven't bought it in a while because, it always had a slant to it, whatever. I finally was going through it before I threw it out into the recycle bin. Because I have never seen, so there's 2 opinion pages. I get it. You don't like the current administration. I wasn't expecting that. What I wasn't expecting was, or what I was shocked at was every article in the opinion was negative. There wasn't even one token person shoved in there somewhere who had a positive. Every article was, this is anti-democracy, this is the end of our country, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, yeah.
I was appalled by that. I get it, some are slanted, I know, but having not seen that paper in so long and saw how rabid it is about the way things are in our country right now, totally, obviously New York City is in a bubble if they're still buying that paper. Totally against what the country just said in the last election. I just looked at your grandma and I said, forget that time puzzle. I'm paying $6 too, by the way. I'm not paying $6
for a piece of paper. Yeah, get out of here with that. Yeah, I don't even do your online acceptance thing for 99 cents. I ain't paying for a piece of paper for $6. That's crazy. Learn your market.
Well, I will say this though, Chris. I understand you don't want to pay for stuff, right? But there is something to be said for, you can't just put stuff online for free. These reporters have to be paid. If you don't want to read their stuff, that's fine. But even I sometimes, because I get my clips from other, sources that pull.
Wait, let me stop you right there, Mom. They get paid by the advertisements that are on that website. Keep the advertisements. Don't make me pay for your subscription so I could read some person who's, let's be honest, their opinion really doesn't matter.
No, but if you subscribe, you don't get the ads.
I'll take the ads. I'll take the free ads that you get free revenue for than paying $6 for a newspaper.
Yeah.
So again, that business model doesn't make sense. That caters to the older generation. Like, when was the last time? I want to know what percentage of kids my age. I shouldn't say kids. I'm almost 30, but people my age buying newspapers. When was the last time you saw something?
No, you guys don't.
They are on borrowed dime.
Right. The print media is dead because you try and go get a newspaper at your local food store. You don't have them down there in North Carolina. We just have them because we're close to the city. So Grandma loves that.
We don't have it because most people can't read down here.
That's not true.
Kidding, my fellow Southerners, except for you, Alabama. You guys definitely can't read.
They get everything online, which I do too. I haven't gotten a paper in years, but every time you subscribe to a paper, by right, they want you to pay for it, or to your point, the ads can subsidize it.
Well,
that's the only reason why we justify it.
Let me tell you, I tell myself I'm too busy, but this is pure laziness. I have an app now that will actually just read articles to me. which is
Oh
really
my God,
nice.
Christopher.
So like when I'm doing two things at once and I can't read at the same time, I'll just freaking like if I'm editing, I'm like it's literally an app called Read to me, and it just reads the article to me.
Well, that's okay. That
Yeah.
I used to like the idea, and I did it a couple times when you guys were little, books on tape when we had a long car ride.
Oh yeah.
And it was for Dad. It was a British reader. He's like, "Shut this off! I can't listen to a British guy for
Uncle's
3 hours."
Uncle's voicemail.
Oh yeah,
His
he's a British
voicemail's the
lady.
British
I'm
guy. I'm
like,
like, what are you doing?
"What was
Are
this
you
Raven? He doesn't even-
anti-America? Yeah, but
He doesn't even want his ways with the British accent.
Yeah.
I can't understand them. But even to your point, like I was trying to put movies on for Grandma. Every streaming is now you have to pay extra if you don't want ads. I already pay a monthly
I know. It's crazy.
subscription. Now you want me to pay to upgrade so I don't get ads? Come
Pure
on.
price gouging at
Yeah,
every level.
absolutely.
Pure price
Yeah.
gouging. So
Well, Bezos has to pay for his wedding, so he needs some cash. So
Yeah.
he's got to upgrade. Yeah, he's got to charge.
you know
me for
he
that.
has to spend. I think it was like I saw a thing. His boat just to keep it every month is like $20 million
Oh,
just
come
to
on.
keep
That's
it.
ridiculous.
Let's look
Oh,
it up.
come on. That's crazy.
How much
That's
does
obscene.
Bezos
Why doesn't he
pay?
just go buy an African country and feed everybody, you know?
Oh, you're the problem. Don't tell him how to do what to do with his money.
And call it Bezosville or something like that. Bezos Mania.
Bezos Mania. Yeah. His earnings cost. Okay. His monthly expenses. Oh, I'm sorry. I added a zero. 2.8 million for his yacht.
Yeah, all right, that
My
I
bad.
can see.
So he
20
cost. So estimated 25 million a year, not a month.
Okay. All right.
Still,
well,
that's pretty crazy. What kind of boat is it? Oh, I got
it's a yacht. It's a big ass yacht that he could barely get out of the. I think it was over in Europe. He had it made. They could barely get it out of the dock to ship it over here.
That's it. Wow, that is pretty fucking nice.
Yeah.
You cannot deny that that's. Oh, it's a sailboat? No.
It's a yacht.
Yeah, but
It's
look, it's got the
tiny-
sails. That's different from
Yeah, it's
this.
a yacht.
This doesn't have the sails.
Well, he might have both. He might have like a.
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got a few, Chris, not just the one.
Yeah.
What he might want to get into, Chris, is crypto. The only problem is Senate crypto bill, not liking it.
That's
The Democrats aren't liking
not
it.
that one. We want the wait. Stop looking, everyone. Which one was that? Oh, crypto
Senate
bill.
crypto
Yeah.
bill.
Here we go.
Yeah. So the Senate Dems, they rejected the industry-backed crypto bill. It needs Dem votes. It's not going to go through without some Dems.
Can you take me back a second? What is this bill?
It's just a way of regulating the crypto industry.
Okay.
Right? And they didn't go into all the details in the article, but understand the irony is many of the Democrats and Republicans use crypto back. Remember FTX? We'll
Right.
talk about that one too. They use crypto back to fund their campaigns.
Right.
But now all of a sudden, the Trump family is getting heavily involved in crypto. Trump is pushing.
So now they hate it.
Oh, they hate it. And they don't want it because they think there's a risk he's going to make a lot of money and fund every Republican candidate, whatever. I mean, it's part of that derangement syndrome that goes on. So Dems like Schumer, he liked crypto for his campaign funding, but now they're not liking it because they're afraid that the Trump family is getting more and more into it. Crypto-friendly Dems are warning that you got to be careful with the conflict of interest. Just because the current administration is heavy into it, if we shoot ourselves in the foot over this, we're not going to have access to this.
I'm still, again, I wouldn't say I side with the Democrats on this one, but I'm still very anti these cryptos. The more scams I see, the more polluted these cryptos become, the more scared I get about all of these. If you're talking about Trump coin and whatever, sure, but even the Trump coin was a little bit of a rug pull. Yeah, he did well, and a bunch of people did, but
right. But here's the thing: it is a legitimate industry, but it needs to be regulated.
It has to be,
and that's the issue. So
Right.
that's what they're fighting over right now. So the Senate's trying to put together some sort of bill. The Republicans are pushing for it, and the Democrats, some of them, recognize that it is a form of currency. Yes, it needs to be regulated, but we can't just walk away because we don't want the one group to have it, and we can't shoot ourselves in the foot
Right.
over that. So crypto super PAC by the name of Fair Shake, they already have $110 million ready for the next 2026 campaign.
wow.
So somebody's going to be the cash cow for these people. Are you going to fight us, or are you gonna, work with us and do legislation? What's it gonna be? So it's very telling how where this is going to come out. We know it has to be regulated, et cetera, et cetera. Along the lines of we talked about.
To your point, right? If this was Kamala Harris doing this, that more and more Democrats would have voted for it, right? They would have been like, please do it. So to your point,
they all wanted it in the past.
Yeah,
they all wanted it in the past.
But that's the same thing with every bill that's come in since Trump took office back in 2018, because. Right, it just he did it, so we don't like it, and then he's out. Biden does the same thing, and they're like, "Man, we love this." So, but you can say the same thing about Republicans too. Don't get me wrong, but it just kind of goes to show. I'm definitely a proponent of regulating crypto, 100%. I've seen too many people lose their entire livelihoods because of these cryptos. Not that they're all bad. We all
know that it needs to be regulated. If we learn nothing else from the FTX debacle, right?
That's true.
Well, and we still don't know the full story there of what was given to certain campaigns, like who benefited from that debate. We never uncovered that one suspiciously. But at the end of the day, that was a wake-up call for a lot of people who, I don't understand crypto. I don't understand that.
And
we better figure it out fast because people are using it and they're abusing it. And,
exactly.
In some cases, tax dollars are involved.
And no one knows what really happened to Sam Bankman-Fried, but I know that he's in jail playing League of Legends. So he can't be in that rough condition, but.
Well, interestingly enough, the FTX celebrities, they're now off the hook. I mean, we talked about Tua last time. And so a Florida judge has ruled that celebrities are not responsible for the FTX misconduct. So the FTX investor group, they failed to make their case that the celebrities, and some of them are Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, Steph Curry, who went out and pushed the FTX coin at the time, they're not going to be held liable personally for it on this on the federal level. Also, influencers that were charged. So that might be like a Hawk Tuohy type person to a person. Many have been, and he said, quote, uninformed, negligent, or even reckless in doing it. But he said you can't make the case, or you were unable to make the case that they should be held liable for it. They had no knowledge of the fraud that was going on.
Right.
Now they're not civilly liable because they were paid for their promotion. However, they still are on the hook for state law violations in Florida and all places, Oklahoma.
Right.
So on the state level, they still may have to answer for this. But basically, that's kind of like the same area that this Tua person's under. It's they're finding that it's a little bit dubious. Basically, they're saying, all right, celebrities are playing dumb. They didn't know anything. Right. Is that true or not? You got to make the case that, they knew more than they said, and they failed to make that case.
Yeah, because in reality, I think those people are just investors that get bigger chunks of the probably more shares in that company for promotions, right? I think a lot of them got paid in promotions and I got paid in stocks and ownership of the company. So I think you have to, if one of them had like a 49% ownership and then did that, that's a little different story than 1%.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for that.
We kind of knew this was going to happen. Yeah, we knew this was going to happen. The fact that Sam Bankman-Fried barely got leveled for it, there was no way any of these celebrities were going to deal with huge repercussions. Yeah. Hey, we can't even get the Diddy files, let alone figure out who owned what in this company.
And as I said, I stopped the research journalists. Obviously, they weren't. Yeah. There's more stuff going on after the FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried, but obviously, we never got to the bottom of where exactly did this money go? Who actually? I've never
who
seen
got paid back
about it. Yeah. Right. So I think a lot of them are like, let's settle this. Let's move on. He's in jail. Let's move on. We don't want to open up too many wounds over it. Right?
Yeah. But never heard of that guy again after, right? Sam Bankman-Fried, he was the biggest thing for, 6 months? He's going to jail. He finally gets found guilty. Yeah. And then they were just like, just put him over there.
He's in prison with somebody. Is he with
Diddy? Yeah, but they're in like different wings. They have their own wings. Oh, speaking of which, did you hear Kanye's new song? I don't know why I put Diddy and Kanye together. Oh man, Mom. It went basically viral on Twitter. It is on everything that I see right now.
Yeah.
Mom, I'm a musician. I'm not a fan of the song, but like the words, It is really good.
Oh, the words
It
are
is
good?
no. It's
The lyrics?
fundamentally from a musical standpoint
Okay.
phenomenal, but
Mm.
you cannot play it outside. It's banned
Oh
on
my
Apple.
god.
It's banned on Spotify. But Matt Sprague sent it to me. I mean, I did like 20 million views in like an hour,
Oh,
and
jeez.
that's only on Twitter because it didn't go anywhere. But
Yeah.
I have to say, love him or hate the guy, no matter what you think about him, he is a musical genius. You cannot deny it because once you listen to that song, it's stuck in your head all day.
Yeah, I don't even know. Do I know any of his other songs
You
prior to
do.
going wacky? I
Yeah, you
probably do.
do. What's that song? Dad actually likes one of the songs. Do.
I can look it up, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean that's fine. I'm sure he'll make some money from it then, just because
yeah.
it's him and he's a wackadoodle and he's getting a lot of attention right
He's
now.
getting a lot of attention, but 30 million views when it can't go anywhere is crazy. But
Yeah,
again,
it's
as I
true.
said, it's a song that everyone's gonna be playing, but you can't play it outside.
So you can't download it from Spotify, right? They
No,
won't put it on there.
it's only on Twitter right now. Some record label has to
Oh,
take it, and
oh.
I don't I cannot see I
Are you
cannot
doing an
see
album or just one song?
just one song. No one really does
Oh,
albums anymore. I think
oh really?
yeah, I
Oh,
saw a whole thing a couple months ago on someone talking about why albums just aren't financially worth it. You're better
hmm,
off doing a bunch of singles over the span of like
okay.
3 years, putting all those to an album and then doing your tour or whatever, because then you have an
Yeah.
album tour. So
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense because think of well, I mean, uh, if you look at Beyonce, for instance, with her new country album, there's only one song on there that's good. No one can name another song. So why make a whole album?
And the one that
I
you
know.
say is good. What's it called? Carter Country? Carter something Carter?
No
Cowboy
shot.
Carter?
No shot I know it. But right, why would you waste production money and time on a whole album when one song did well? Like think of how many albums you have or there's songs on there you don't even like.
Yeah, I mean the record companies still do put out
Yeah.
albums and market albums, so it's not as though it's all digitized, but yeah, I mean it is kind of the lazy way. It used to be performers would go away for a while, work on an album, and big excitement. Oh, the new album's out, and you hear all the songs and which tracks are good, which aren't. And now we're back to one hit one
Yeah.
shot deal at a time.
But Kanye definitely has the song of the summer right now.
All right, I got
That
now.
no,
Now I'm intrigued. I
you're
gotta listen
not
to
gonna
it.
want to.
Not gonna
You
want to hear it.
you would like the music because it's the one thing Kanye is very good at is doing kind of like these almost like symphonies where everything comes together. But when you hear the lyrics, you're gonna go, "Oh, that's why you can't play this."
Oh my god,
But
that's
you know what it is
insane.
though. Here's the thing though. It's the song is about if you listen to the lyrics, it's because of how he was treated, he got pushed very far right. That's the song, right? So
Oh,
I think people are gonna be. I think if you really listen to the lyrics, you understand. Right? He talks
mm.
about you can't see his kids anymore. You froze all my bank accounts. You did this. You did that. Everyone said I was crazy. A little bit crazy, but
Yeah,
a
a
little
little
bit.
bit,
Yeah.
a little
Between him
bit.
and Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson's. I'm like, okay, yeah, I see what you're doing, but yeah, it's kind of like I can see why you wrote this song. It's a good song, but again, no one
Yeah,
could play this.
yeah.
No one could play this in their car out in public. So, um,
Well, I have to say that like the more I think about talented, creative people, the more I realize, especially like actors and whatnot, the best ones, a little bit crazy.
oh
Like you
yeah,
got to be a little bit. You got to
Robert
have
Downey
like a little bit
Jr.
of a crew.
Yeah, Robert Downey Jr. Come
Oh
on,
yeah. Well, I mean, he's
Tom
talented,
Cruise.
yes, and I think it was very. I don't think they're a little weird. Okay, I can't give a little bit of weird, but just some of them that are really, really, especially with the music, like Amadeus Mozart.
Oh
They're
yeah.
a little crazy. I mean, that was his upbringing.
Oh,
Again, a lot of them had
I think
really.
our definitions of crazy are a little different. Like, I agree with you, but Tom Cruise is crazy in the sense of he does stunts where he puts his life on the line sometimes. That to me is crazy as an
Oh,
actor.
yeah, that is
Robert Downey
crazy. But I'm
Jr.,
saying,
drug addict, very
right,
out
some of
there.
them it comes from like they're born creative, I think, but then it's exacerbated by their childhood or their
Right.
upbringing. Same thing with Amadeus Mozart. I mean, he was just a genius born. I don't know Beethoven's story, but I'm saying I'm trying to make the comparison. It's not just current people that are a little crazy, but there's always something a little bit different, if you will, about the real geniuses, the one that are quirky, if you will.
I get it.
And
You're talking
I
about
find
me,
them to
Mom. I
be,
know.
I'm talking about Chris of my kids, happens to be the one, little off, just a little off that. But
Thanks,
I don't
Mom.
know, it's I don't know, it's just a observation that I'm sure he's really, really talented in terms of the music and whatnot. And yeah, maybe, and there's also a bit of sensationalism, right? You're going to sell a lot if people are sensationalized by the lyrics or whatever. We know a lot of them
we've
do
seen
that.
interviews with Kanye and like he did Rogan a couple years ago, and you could tell there's something off. But that's a guy whose mind, again, when he's a broken man from everything he's gone through by far, based on his stories and what we heard when they were pumping him full of crazy pills, literal crazy pills.
Yeah.
He is musically inclined at the level that is a once in a generation, and I think people don't really see that. So when you actually listen to his music,
sometimes you have to wait till somebody like that is gone before they appreciate his abilities, right?
Yeah, there's very few musicians out there. As someone, maybe John Mayer. Oh, and maybe John Mayer, but the people that can actually
him in a long time.
Yeah, but from a musically inclined standpoint, him and John Mayer are probably the only ones I can think of that.
Justin Bieber, he was very talented too.
Good singer, but it's different though,
not
because
a producer.
The building of music, like as a whole, very few people have that ability. Like I like Brendan Urie, but he can sing his ass off, but there's no real musical. Like he's not.
Yeah, he's pretty consistent.
He's consistent. Yeah.
Style.
Kanye, even though again he's a rapper, but the music that he makes, these compositions as a musician, are genius. So that's why very few people can do that. John Mayer is different in the sense of the way he writes his music. It's almost designed that only he can do it.
Okay.
So it's tough to explain, but there's great guitarists out there, but to be able to play what he plays and sing at the same time,
well, and also you have to remember, a lot of these musicians, yes, some of them do it on their own, but many of them, and they get unsung heroes, are their producers.
Right.
They can take Britney Spears and turn her into a pop sensation. She's nothing great about her. She's not a great singer. She's not great at anything. The song's written for her, but they put a producing team on her for the record company, and they make her, a little mini superstar.
Yeah, well, right. And Kanye and John Mayer definitely are not those. But to your point, that Benny Blanco guy that's married to Selena Gomez or engaged.
I don't know. I only know of him because of her.
Every song you've ever heard, Mom, was written by this kid. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. He does a podcast with some guy. I don't know if they do it regularly, but he has all these old songs that even I grew up on, where I was like, man, he wrote that too before Maroon 5 bought it and sold it. It's like, wow. So there's definitely musically inclined, talented people out there. But if Kanye's producing, writing it, which I'm not a lyric guy, I don't like rap, but when I see the composition of this song, with the trumpets, with the symphonies, you go, oh, okay. This is something where I truly believe if you put Kanye in front of an orchestra and they said, hey, just tell these people what to do, they'll do it, you'd see a pretty fantastic song.
Yeah, some people have that natural ability to do it. I always compare, like, for instance, Christina Aguilera has a very good voice. She's got a wide range, and she had that from a young age.
Which is a talent.
But a Taylor Swift, who doesn't have that range, who has basically the same voice, she doesn't deviate, but she writes her own music and she writes her own lyrics, and she's now, can do all those things. I don't know how much she's ever done it. Same thing with Ariana Grande. She's got a good voice, but it's consistent. And I don't know that she writes her own stuff. And so that's when you get like this Benny guy, you need them for the talented people who can't write music.
Exactly.
But yet they need something
to
perform.
Everyone has a special talent in that industry. Ariana can sing her ass off. Benny can write and produce. But if you have someone that can do all of it, like a Kanye, because I don't think anyone's touching his stuff right now. Unfortunately or fortunately, he's just kind of able to have this perfect creative mindset that, do you have any idea how hard it is to write a song that no one can play? You know what I mean? Like I can't go outside and play that song.
Well, there's people that study for years and years and years
Yeah.
after being classically trained to play some songs
Yeah.
that classical musicians and they struggle with it. That's why they go to Juilliard or whatever. They work on those type of
Well,
pieces that
Beethoven, right,
they should be able to do.
which was the one that was completely deaf. Is that Beethoven?
Beethoven.
Yeah, Beethoven with the spoon. Like that's
Mhm.
a level of musical genius that, I mean, that's once in a millennium.
Yeah, it's a freakish thing that this individual is able to do, but it's yeah, I do believe that there are people out there that have a level of creativity that may not be appreciated because unfortunately he has wrapped himself in a lot of negative publicity and a lot of negative things in his life that it hides his genius. Like it really gets, he's unfortunately his worst enemy because he's
Exactly.
probably, but then there's something to be said that maybe he never would have been recognized for his ability if he didn't have this persona.
Yeah, but I always wonder, like, when was it that everyone was like, "Oh, Kanye's not normal"? Was it back when the election was going on and he wanted to run for president? Was it the divorce? Like, let me put it this way: what did Kim Kardashian see in him at first to marry him? Right? Because there had to
Right.
be some kind of something that really changed things. But that's besides the point.
Yeah. Who knows?
Speaking,
Maybe he
oh
had some sort of condition
yeah,
and
really.
that triggered it. Who knows?
I think it was when his mom died, right? I know he accredited a lot of the stuff to his mom. His mom died of, I forget what it was, but his mom died on the operating table, I believe. It was like a freak surgery.
Well, I'll say this too. A lot of people are on medications from a young age, or they start taking something and they think it's no big deal. And even though they don't necessarily need it anymore, maybe they do, I don't know. We're not coming to terms with the stuff we're putting in individuals. And I don't know his story. I don't know if he's been on something, whatever. Let alone you have the pharmaceutical drugs and you got the social drugs, the garbage on the street. And people just keep dumping it in. And if you're somebody that has a little something to begin with, if you're born with and I'll call it the creative gene, but a
Yes.
specific type
It's
of
tough
crazy
having it.
gene,
Yeah, I know.
you add pharmaceutical crap to that, then you add a life event, right?
Yeah.
And you wonder why the guy is nutty. And sometimes you have to say, is he crazy because he's looking for the attention? Right? And sometimes that's the case because you're in the entertainment business. You need to know, you need that attention. Or is it something else? And it seems to be like it's unfortunate because he is so talented. I think if he was just doing it for negative publicity, I think somebody smart enough in the industry would have said a while ago, hey, you're good enough. You don't need to do this.
Right.
Right? So I'm going to say that it's probably something on a mental
Yeah,
thing going on there
something's
that
going
needs to
on.
be fixed.
Speaking of geniuses who created the spacecraft from 1972 coming back,
Soviets.
the Soviets, yeah, who we probably took into our NASA program, but that's besides the point. Soviets. So this thing's it was a spacecraft that was launched in 1972 to Venus,
Yep.
and is just now making its way back. Right.
Yep.
This is pretty
Yep.
big. I wonder what we'll find.
I don't, and by now it would have fallen because they said it was supposed to go sometime about like 12 in the morning on May 10th. So this crap landed somewhere. I just thought it was kind of funny that, so, when you read the article, they make a point of saying, there's a lot of stuff that comes down all the time that people don't know about.
Yeah.
And fortunately, most of the world is made of water. But the line the person used was, it's either going to be, what was it? It's either going to be splash, thud, or ouch.
Yeah, because I thought it was funny where it says still the risk of injuries on the ground is low. I was like, low, but not zero. That poor.
17,000 miles per hour.
Yeah.
So they're saying
It's going to be that poor African village that doesn't have any electricity that is about to get decimated by a satellite.
And they're going to look at it and they go, it's a UFO.
Yeah.
UFO.
As Russia goes down there to collect the floppy disk, right? It's got to be a floppy disk or something on that. I always wonder when you do something like that from 1972, I wonder what you use to get the information from it. Because, right? Yeah, something like that. Like, what's it going to do?
What's in there doing
There is rock on planet. Okay, great. This was a multi-billion-dollar project even back then. But, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Well, I guess it gives some credence to the fact that somebody was doing something in outer space in 1972.
True.
Maybe it wasn't all a fluke after all. Maybe we did go to the moon. I don't know. But,
A splash is really good, he said.
Yeah, because it's in the ocean.
Yeah.
Thought an out, that's good.
Yeah,
Like,
but
okay.
I wonder if it's in the water, I wonder how they find it, right? There's got to be some kind of beacon on it still that they prepared for.
I don't think so. I don't know from 1972.
So hold on. So we shot up a 50-year-long project that has hit the ground and will probably never find it.
What they said was this is unusual. There are this crap out in outer space that usually disintegrates before it lands, so you're not going to get the full thing. It'll probably break up, and most likely it'll land in the ocean. Who knows? Every now and then you read it like the Daily Mail. Somebody had crap land in their back.
Yeah, and it turned out to just be like shit from an airplane that just got dumped.
But again, maybe it's from some Sputnik,
Yeah, really.
Whatever, coming back down.
It's Buzz Aldrin's fecal matter.
Yeah, they didn't quite plan ahead for that. Oh, yeah, it's going to come back at some point. But I just thought, they said don't be concerned because, it happens all the time. People don't realize it. And, but along with nature, you saw the ice sheets, they're growing in Antarctica.
Yes.
From 2021 to 2023, they were growing in mass. Now, they're still trying to be alarmist. But remember, they lost so much for so long that they were,
it's
partially gone.
Yeah, even Neil deGrasse Tyson, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but even he says, as someone who's very left-leaning, they're kind of designed to melt and then refrost. It just takes time. So, the argument of the ice caps melting, even the leading scientists in that field, not just leading scientists that'll tell you global warming, the scientists in that field say, no, this is completely normal.
Right? Well, yeah, and they're taking the data. It is what it is. But I always love these articles. It's always something to the effect of,
this is great,
Al Gore, explain this one. Al Gore, pick up the red phone.
Nah, when was the last time we heard anything about Al Gore? The amount of money that guy made. The amount of money that guy made off of a freaking scam is insane.
Oh, he's still working it. Every now and then they haul him out to do some conference to talk about, everything in the world that is melting or falling apart. All right, the FTC is losing their battle to block Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard.
77. I did not realize that Al Gore was 77 already. All right, yes, this is a big one.
It's been 2 years since they announced they were going to take it over.
Wow, really?
They're claiming that it's going to lessen competition. Remember we talked about that last time with monopolies? It's always a big deal. You can't have a monopoly. Oh, we talked about Facebook. Right now, it's a $68.7 billion
one of the biggest deals of all time, yeah.
Right. And the MSG, but I write stuff down and I can't even read it. Microsoft Gaming is your Xbox, your Halo, and your Minecraft. Right. But they want to merge that with Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and Candy Crush.
Right. So Activision
I know those are big names.
Yeah, Activision they have all of the Call of Duty games. They have World of Warcraft. They have, what else is in there? StarCraft, Hearthstone,
Candy
all
Crush.
those games.
Candy Crush.
Candy Crush. I guess I didn't even know they owned that, to be honest, because that's a mobile game.
Candy Crush.
But Call of Duty is the big one because that's always been on both PlayStation and Xbox. If Microsoft buys it out, that means if you're on PlayStation, you probably won't be able to play Call of Duty anymore. Which is, I mean, to me,
it's a monopoly.
It's a monopoly in the sense of there's other games to play, so it's not quite a monopoly. But because those games are so big, arguably the biggest games, it is kind of a monopoly because there are people that only play Call of Duty all year round, Mom. So if I'm on PlayStation, I can't play it anymore. It kind of just kills but even for years now, PlayStation's been for single player games. Xbox has been more so for the multiplayer games. So I can see why the argument for it not being a monopoly makes sense, but also it's kind of shitty to buy up all the games for your console. I'm not complaining because I am Xbox Microsoft. Like as we talked about last week, I see no point in getting anything but a PC now. It still doesn't make sense.
You were saying that.
And Nintendo, I don't know what Nintendo's doing. They must be shitting bricks too, because they gotta pray to God that this new Switch 2 does somewhat well, because they are. Right. I don't know what else they make besides video games. I think Nintendo does a lot of things besides video games, but I don't know. I don't know what happens.
I didn't pull this article, and maybe I have it somewhere for next time. But there was a person talking about these gaming centers in schools. You had mentioned about teaching and whatnot.
Right.
And when they write the program up, they were saying that they start the young students off and they have to play the old games for the 1980s, I
Oh,
guess, or the
Pong.
70s, because that's like your freshman year. That's how you learn about the industry, and they make you pay those games. And she said, so you can appreciate how far games have come for when people started playing
Oh
it. And
yeah.
I just thought that was so funny to see people from today looking at these antiquated games,
Well,
how they were built and how they run, and it's trying to
we're
compare it to today.
we're definitely close to that point. There's been a couple video games I've seen where I had to do double takes and be like, is that a game or is that a movie? Or is that real
Yeah.
life? We are getting to that point. But we talk about this all the time as well, which is we're kind of at that point where I think video games, especially from a technological standpoint, for the average person, consumer wise, they
Yep.
can't really get much better than they are right now from a
Yeah.
functionality standpoint.
Right.
Until everyone has quantum computers like in their house, that's a household thing. We're kind of at the peak for a while.
Well, that or when you get to the point of virtual reality being a regular thing, where you're
Which we
actually
got.
playing,
I
running the gun.
Yeah, I would argue that we're probably more likely to have household quantum computing before we have VR that is lifelike.
I
VR
guess
is
so.
not doing well, especially since I didn't pull this article, but Meta just keeps losing money hand over fist to the point where they're like, Zuck, please shut it down. It's
Yeah.
not doing
Yeah.
anything. So, and he stupidly, I shouldn't say stupidly, I get why he did it, but he bought out Oculus and turned it into Meta. So, like, my headset is all under
Yeah.
Facebook now.
Yeah.
And then if that fails, all you have is what's called the Steam, what's it called on Steam? The Valve Index, which I'm sure Steam's making great games, but or are in the process, but those aren't going to come out for 5+ years at least.
Right.
So VR is such a weird industry because let's say the technology advances, Mom, in 5
Yeah.
years, you'd have to basically restart that game, building that game from scratch.
Yeah.
So
Right.
every
Right.
time a new update, it moves fast enough that the ability or capabilities of it are ahead, but the games can't catch up in time because of how they're
Well,
built.
unless they do them in parallel universe. So unless they keep advancing games, and then meanwhile work on the VR, and then one
Right.
day VR will
But
surpass it.
but that's the problem. It takes a lot of money to do
Yeah.
VR and
Yeah.
AR too, which is why Meta is just tanking their virtual
Well,
reality stuff.
maybe Meta doesn't need so many boats. Maybe Jeff Bezos
Yeah.
doesn't need so many yachts. That's what I'm saying. It's their business if they want to do it. But if they're not interested, the company doesn't want to put that kind of money into it. At some point, it's like, how much money do you need? And do you really want to take it to the next level?
Yeah, really.
Somebody who's into it.
All right, Mom. We just
But then
did an hour.
again, that's the man's world, supposedly, right?
man's
That's
world?
predominantly the man's
Yeah.
world. The new words today are manosphere and broadcast.
Oh, did you want to use that one? You want to use that one? I thought you didn't want to use that.
No, I said I did want to use it, but I didn't know. I pulled it aside because it was good for somebody else. But the New York Times has this male podcast world. They're talking about it, and they see women coming in. It's called Dear Media, is an example out of Austin, Texas. Has the largest network for women for podcasting, nearly 100 shows. But they focus more on health and wellness. It reached number 7 on the Apple list.
Get us in.
For those in the, yeah.
Get us in.
They cover things what women want, self-care. They do other stuff, but they're focusing more on this now.
Right.
What women want in terms of self-care and mental health, which I think is so funny. It's all about them, caring for them, and they're all depressed, so they all need mental health. Guy by the name of Bostic and his wife, put their names down. They're very heavy involved in Dear Media. Their goal is to help creators monetize, which I thought was interesting, right? Not just with online, but events, merchandise, TV, and publishing. So they're taking it into a whole new world, and they're focusing on bringing more women into the world of podcasting. I guess it's an interesting market that they see a lot of potential. And I told you LeBron James' wife wants to go on there. So it's, even though they tend to lean, or according to the Times in their article, they tend to lean more towards the conservative side, it seems like some liberal women are embracing it just to get, because there's a platform that's willing to
For
put them
women,
out
yeah,
there.
for women, yeah. Huh.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting because we're
I
in the
guess
podcast
I guess we'll
world.
go in it. I guess we'll do it.
We'll reach out. I don't know the process to find out. I mean, hey, we're 50%
Yeah, we're
female.
50%. So.
And we do self-care.
Yeah.
And we can.
This is a borderline wellness check.
We just did how much on Kanye. Doesn't that count for mental health?
Does that put us in there? Yeah, it can't be much harder than The View.
Can't be, yeah.
Oh, there's a great I guess he's a YouTube channel technically, where he edits himself into The View where they have these bad takes. Do you know this guy? And he'll just basically disprove them.
No.
And he edits it so that Whoopi's like, cut the cameras. We'll be right back. It's really good. Because if he was in that room, he would absolutely shut them up. Because the big one was, Trump posted that AI of him as Pope. Did you see that? Yeah. And they were giving him shit. And The View was talking about it and how all Christians should hate President Trump. And then the guy brings out all the papers of the celebrities that have dressed as the Pope, like Beyonce. She did that. Actually dressed, not AI. Madonna on the cross, other Hollywood celebrities on crosses, all the thing. And then he edits it so Whoopi's like, because she doesn't know what to do. But that's exactly how it would be. It's hilarious. He does a really good job. And yeah, again, we talk about this at least once every other podcast, but I don't know how The View is still around.
Yeah.
I do not understand
My grandmother asked me the other day, and it annoyed me because it messed up my morning. What time is The View on? Her friend wanted to know. I go, I have no idea.
Yeah, who the hell watches The View? Cut that friend out of your life if they're watching The View. Yeah, and take away their voting privileges.
Biden was going to be on, and that individual wanted to see how very bad he was, how pathetic he was. But point was, I'm like, why are you asking me? I have no idea.
It must have been bad considering it wasn't trending at all on Twitter. I saw nothing on it.
The only thing I saw with the conservative is things saying like to the effect of, why do they keep hauling him out and highlighting what a disaster this was for the Democrats? And the other was, I guess at some point his wife intervened because he was rambling. And I guess it was somewhat obvious. I didn't watch it.
I didn't know Jill kind of treats him like she's the caretaker, basically. Just
she's been doing that for a while.
I didn't realize she has to be there every second of the day.
Well, they might have hauled her out because they're a quote unquote team. Right. I don't know, but they're just trying to grift again. I think they're trying to sell a book. Who knows? Right. You know, there's never enough money for these people. So they're on The View and babbling, but it's one of these things where I think a lot of Democrats are now even saying behind closed doors, stop hauling him out. Somebody needs to shut this down.
It's like when they wheel out Darth Vader.
Yeah.
After they rebuilt him.
Yeah. Stop reminding what a disaster this individual was. I agree. Why do you keep hauling him out? You know, it certainly doesn't help your next ticket in 2026, but, you know, it's a constant reminder of just how bad this guy is. So anyhow, that's all I got out of that whole thing. Those are the only comments I saw. But then again, I'm not going to hear them praising him on my sites for the most part. I don't know what he could be telling me that I'm thrilled about, you know. So anyhow, The View, I was like, I have no idea. Why are you asking me? I don't watch TV in general, let alone The View.
The View, yeah.
Look it up. Google it, you know. Yeah. If you got an hour to waste of your life.
All right, Mom. We just did an hour 10.
Yeah.
I went by quick.
Covered a lot. There was a lot of articles. I got to tell you, a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, there was. Stuff. You sent me like 9 articles. I was like, man, damn, Mom.
And I had more. I could bring more. We didn't even cover the kids coming out of college with welding. Catholic school in Philadelphia. I see $70,000
There's a TikTok channel of this guy who takes in young welders just to put them through training, and he asks them, how much do you think your welding is worth hourly? And some people will say like $22 an hour, which is really good. And he goes, it's probably a little better than that. It's probably more like 32. I was like, whoa. I was like, is that really how much welders make?
Some of these kids were like, I feel like an athlete. They're coming to me at school. And one of the teachers involved at one of the other schools, they highlighted this Father Judge Catholic High School in Philadelphia because they have this training program that they put in for kids. And it's in Philadelphia. It's a poor area. But another one was commenting that she says, I tell these people, don't come to me when they're seniors. You got to recruit them when they're sophomores and juniors. This is like high school sports again,
it's like the military, right? When they come in high schools and they're like, would you like to join the military?
But also there's not a lot of welders out there.
Right.
It's
It's not an
surprising
easy
people do not
job.
weld
I
in
think
it.
people think that it's an easy job, but it's not. It's hard to weld if you've ever done it
It's a
before.
hard thing to do. You have to have some expertise, but they're also talking
And
about
patience.
local transit system needs them. That's big, right? All the transit systems, submarine manufacturers, local equipment makers. You have to be able to weld for that. And they're also saying like electrical work, plumbing work. What's interesting too is a lot of that work now is tech based. So a lot of things are computer based, and the younger generation, they can do that. Like it's a different vo-tech or technical school than when my generation or older generation would. You learn the basic, like the welding, do it. But now everything is computer based and automated, where you have to have a certain amount of technological knowledge just to go in, set up the
Right.
equipment and whatnot. So that's why these young people are valuable too, because they have a grasp of that and they're learning it. So like kudos to them out in Pennsylvania and across the country. But to come out of school, no college debt, and you're starting at that salary, right?
Right.
So, okay, maybe you're not going to eventually make $300,000 a year, but that's a pretty nice living as an 18, 19-year-old. And after 4 years, like from college time, you could be up even higher just with regular salary increases. However, it also helps that there aren't a lot of welders out there, right? So supply and demand.
True.
They're paying a lot because they need them.
Well, even plumbers, like plumbers make a lot of money now because of how few there are and how much they're needed. Yeah. So plumbers, electricians, everything.
So we got that last article in. I'm glad.
Yeah, basically. All right, Bob. So we'll end it there just because hour 13. What about to promote? Obviously, the podcast from last week, and then I did a Games Pass roulette last week. I did not have the time to edit anything else this week, so there's just not that many games right now, guys. I'm gonna be honest. So I've just been doing the shorts and stuff. So yeah. Other than that, social media, promo codes, stream links, Discord down below. Happy Mother's Day. This will come out Monday, so from yesterday.
Hope you had a happy Mother's Day.
Had a happy Mother's Day, and I will see you guys on Monday, and you will see Mom whenever. So,
floating around.